Okay, if you're here, you've decided to do the Excel graphing homework at home, and maybe you need some extra help with this. So I've got the graphing homework in an Excel spreadsheet here. Okay, and I'm going to work on the first graph, which is volume and temperature. Now I'm using Office Suite from 2010-2011 for the Macintosh, and so if you've got a more recent version, it's going to look a little bit different to this. However, somewhere on your version, your more recent version, you should be able to find this little question mark, and if you click on that, it will give you the option to search Excel for some of the buttons that I'm using, because not everything is quite as obvious on the Mac versions of Excel as it is on the Windows version of Excel. So remember that you can type in any search term in there and you'll get a list of options down here. Okay, so let's get started. Let's have a look at the data first. So we've got volume and temperature, and we've got a column of volume and a column of temperature, and I need to plot volume on the y-axis and temperature on the x-axis. Once I've done that, I need to use the graph to find the volume of gas at 0 degrees centigrade, and I need to find it at 150 degrees centigrade. Now I need to use the graph because, as we can see from my data, the temperature only goes down to 25 and it only goes up to 100. So I'm going to make use of the data that I've got to make predictions about the volumes at those two temperatures. So first of all, I'm going to select the data. Some people like to include the headings. I don't, because sometimes it does muck up the plotting of the graph. It doesn't work out very well. Once I've done that, I'm going to go up to this menu ribbon here, and it's on Charts, and choose Scatter, and I'm going to take a mark scatter without any extra added detail like lines or curves, that kind of thing, because I'm going to add all of that later myself. So click on that, and there we get our chart. Okay, move that out of the way a little bit. Now just check that everything's right. So up here I've got 0 to 120, which looks like my temperature data. And it says that on the y-axis it should be the volume. So Excel does this sometimes. It's plotted the data on the wrong axes, so I need to do something about that. Using the Charts menu still, go to Data and Select, and here I can see what's being plotted against what. So I've got Series 1, and the X values are these ones here, and they should be my Y values. These are my X values, so I'm going to highlight that data there, okay, and click on this little icon again, and then I'm going to do the same for the Y data, okay, and we can see that the points are moving. There we go, and click OK, and that looks a lot better. That's how it should be. So here you see the scales have changed as well. This is going from 0 up to 16, and this is going from 0 up to 120. Now, to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to move this chart to a new page, and it's going to make it fill the whole page, and that's going to make my life a lot easier. So I'm going to right click on the chart, and then I'm going to select Move Chart from the drop down menu, and I'm just going to call that V and T chart. Okay, and there we go, it's appeared in its own screen. Now then, what do I need to do to get some basic marks, or to make it look presentable? Well, first things first is to add some grid lines. So I'm going to go to Chart Layout up here. Okay, and there we go, I've got a little icon for grid lines. So I'm going to turn on major and minor grid lines for the horizontal axis, and I'm going to do exactly the same for the vertical axis. There we go. Okay, that's good. I'm also going to get rid of this Series 1 label, because I've only got one series of data, so I don't need to identify it as being different from any other data. Okay, I'm going to add a title as well. So on this same chart layout menu, there we got chart title, and I'm going to overlap it at the top. There we go. And I usually start off with the words "a graph to show," show. And in this case I've got volume against temperature, so we're looking at how the volume changes with temperature, aren't we? So a graph to show how the volume changes with temperature. In fact, it's the volume of a gas, so I'm just going to put that in there to make it a bit more specific. Okay, so that's good. So I've got a basic graph now, lacking a lot of detail. If you want to pause the video at this point and have a go for yourself, then I suggest you do that, or you can carry on watching. You can come back to this as often as you want, of course. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to add is some axes, and again using these little icons up here, I'm going to add some horizontal axes. I've got axes, I'm going to add labels, sorry, axes titles. So horizontal axis title, below axis, and in there, that was temperature. So type in temperature. And if you remember, there was an uncertainty on the data, let's just go and have a look at that again, of plus or minus 1. So I'm going to add that information in there with the units, just so it's all very clear to whoever's looking at the graph. So I need to insert that plus or minus symbol. Now, on the Windows version of Excel, it's very clear where this is, but on the Mac version, which I don't use very often, I'm always forgetting where it is. So I'm just going to type in here, symbol, and see what it comes up with. It'll take a few seconds to find what it's looking for. Okay, insert a bullet, symbol or special character. So let's have a look at that one. Okay, so I need to go to the media browser on the standard toolbar, click symbols, and then I'll be able to select my symbol from there. So let's get rid of that. So here's the media browser. Like I said, it's not in the most obvious place. And there we go. And here are my symbols. And there is my plus or minus symbol. Okay, so let's get that in there. Oh, I've got two now. All right. So let's get rid of that. All right. Okay, and that was plus or minus 1. And I need now the degree symbol, which is probably also in here. So there we go, symbols, and there it is, degrees. Okay, that's gone in. Fine, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then put C in there and close that. So there's my x-axis title. And now for my y-axis title. I prefer the rotated title. It looks a bit neater to me. And it leaves more space for the actual graphical data. Again, I need to put in that plus or minus symbol, so that goes in there. And it was 0.2, and the units were centimeters cubed. So I really want to make this cubed what they call superscript, okay, or make it up again above, like a power, like x squared. And again, on the Windows version of Excel, it's very easy to do this. It's easy to find, but again, I can never remember on the Mac version where it is. So I'm going to have to search for it, and hopefully it will come back with something and tell me how to do it. In fact, I've just remembered, so I can get rid of that. It's here. So on the chart layout, where it says Format Selection, click on that. Again, you may need to search for it if you're using a more recent version, because it won't be in the same place possibly. Okay, but there it is, superscript on font, and click OK, and that's raised up. So that looks great now. I'm just going to resize the axes next, okay, because I've got a lot of wasted space down here, and I can spread that data out if I shorten the axis or make the axis start at 10 for volume on the y-axis, and also I need to measure at 150 degrees centigrade the volume of the gas. So this only goes up to 120, so I need to extend that axis as well. So I'm going to go to Format Axis, and here we go, and that's not what I wanted. do that. So I'm going to look at the vertical axis and go to axis options. Okay, and there we go. I'm going to put tick marks outside for the minor tick marks. I'm going to add those in at the moment, and the scale is here. Right, the minimum I want for my scale is 10. Okay, and I kind of know from experience that the maximum that I want is going to be about 17. So I'm going to put that up. All right, and that's okay. I'm also, while I'm here, I'm going to make that line a little bit bolder. So I've clicked on line there. Go to weights, and I'm going to put that up so it stands out a little bit more. Okay, about 1.5. Okay, so let's spread our data out a bit more. I'm going to do the same thing on this axis. So on the horizontal axis, I'm going to go to axis options, and oh, it's left me on this section, so I'm just going to do everything the other way around. That was 1.5, I think. Tick marks outside. So I've got minor tick marks now, and the scale I'm going to leave as 10, but I'm going to take it up to a little bit more than I wanted. You can see already that the scale's changed on the bottom to 160. I need to take a measurement at 150, remember, but if I go just beyond that, then it makes it a lot clearer on the graph. It keeps everything nice and neat. I'm also going to change the major unit to 10, and I'm going to leave the minor unit at 2, and see how that looks as a graph. That's not looking too bad, actually. So there's a good level of formatting there. If you want to take a bit of a break now and get up to that point, then you can, or you can keep on watching. I'm just going to carry on. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to change these diamonds, which are not very nice, to crosses. Okay, so I'm going to go to marker style. So that was a left click on one of the diamonds and a right click to get this drop down menu where I selected the format data series and marker style, and then I'm going to change those to X's, and you can see they've all changed on the screen, and I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm also going to make them a bit bolder. Is it? Nope. It's this one, I think. Yes, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Up to 1.25. There we go. So that's marker line. Okay, so that's pretty good now. They all look a bit neater, a bit clearer. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to add error bars, and you can see up here we've got error bars. Remember we wrote these uncertainties in here of 0.2 and plus or minus 0.1. Sorry, plus or minus 1. I'm actually going to add those values as error bars to my data, and this is going to make it easier to fit my trend line to the data. So I'm going to choose error bars with standard error. Okay, and there we go. And those error bars are too big at the moment, so I'm just going to pick one of them. So first of all, I'm going to look at the x-axis. So left click and then right click and format error bar. There we go, and that's got that on there. I'm going to put a fixed value in there of 1. That's our uncertainty. And click OK. And then I'm going to do exactly the same for the Y error bars, except that that fixed value is not anywhere near as big as that. It's 0.2. So that goes in there. Okay, so now you can see I've got my error bars on there as well. And now I can add my trend line. And the way I'm going to add my trend line is by inserting a straight line. Now I remember that this is here, okay, in the media browser again. We've got shapes, and in there I've got a straight line, and click on that, and then I just left click and drag to get a shape. There we go, let's get rid of that. On those effects, I'm just going to switch off the shadow because I don't think it helps at all. So with the trend line just roughly put on there as I've done it, you can see that there's a few points that are not going through the data. Also, I need to extend this down to beyond the y-axis so that I can take my value at 0 degrees C, and up above 150 so that I can read off the scale to find my value of volume at 150 degrees C. Now that's a little bit low. I'm just going to raise it up a little bit there, and at this end I'm going to drop it down a little bit. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move this line around so that as many of those points are either touching the line, or the line is going through those points directly. And what I'm talking about is the error bars. So you can see I've just moved the line up a little bit so that this error bar is quite obviously now touching the line. This one, this one, this one, this one is, this one isn't. Okay, this one is, this one is, this one is. Yes, yes, yes. So I've got one anomalous piece of data there. Maybe I'll take it a little bit more up there. Okay, so that's pretty good on there. So I've got an anomalous piece of data, so I'm going to insert a circle to make that stand out. Okay, so, and if I hold shift down, then that gives me a perfect circle. If I take shift off, I can do an ellipse, so shift, there we go, that's about big enough. So I don't want any fill on that, so I'm going to get rid of the fill. There we go. The line I'm going to make a little bit bolder. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to move that so that it's highlighting that piece of data. That's okay. Probably a little bit big. I might make that a bit small, but that's okay as it stands. It's clear. It stands out as an anomaly. Right, so that's pretty good. I can quite easily take a measurement for 0 here. Okay, but to take a measurement for 150, well, I can read up to the line there, and then while I'm going across, I'm probably going to get lost and maybe not take the correct measurement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of lines to my graph to make that easier to see. So I'm just very, very roughly, quickly going to put 2 lines on there and then get rid of that so I can work a bit more easily. And that's going to cross the axis at 150. And then it's going to go up and touch a line there, and then this one is going to come across and connect, and then it's going to go and cross the axis there. That still looks like it's got a shadow on it, so it's a bit annoying that it automatically puts a shadow in. Yes, it does. Get rid of those. Okay. And that is a graph completed to the standard that we would want within the science department. You can then copy and paste that into a Word document for your lab report. Okay, thank you.